Hi Sadie, such a pleasure to have you here with us. Maybe you could just kick off with a brief introduction to this film, A Bird Flew In. What can audiences expect if they watch it?
So I've saw it a very long time ago. We made it a long time ago, and I'm just so excited that it is out. And I mean, for me, it was just amazing to be part of such a wonderful ensemble cast. To be directed by Kirsty and be in a film with Ben Charles Edwards, who he produced it, who I really love. You know, we've got fantastic actors like Derek Jacobi and Francis Barber, and all these little mini kind of stories and vignettes, beautifully shot. And it's a very gentle, for my character, very gentle and unassuming, which is sometimes really hard because you sometimes don't have that much of a plot or much to do. So that's a challenge, you know, to have those kind of characters. But, you know, for me, it was just being part of a project at that time and such great actors and, yeah, a beautiful kind of... It's nice when you have lots of mini stories together. I've always really appreciated films like that.
And what can you tell us briefly about your character and how your narrative fits in with the others, with, the seven of them all together?
So there's all these different people that have come off a movie and the different characters that have been in, whether they're actors or producers or editors or directors. And my character's a editor, and she's editing the movie, and she strikes up this kind of relationship which becomes quite complicated. But you see the kind of the drama and the frustration between two people that are kind of having this relationship on screen, like we all sometimes have to, or have, you know, more and more, aren't we? You know, when we're not communicating face to face. So it's about that kind of frustration.
And it's got such a particular look and feel to it, this film, kind of shot in black and white and very kind of naturalistic, you know, in the performances. So what was it like to kind of be on that set and be working with Kirsty in the cast?
I remember feeling a bit scared in a sense that it was very natural, and I'd eaten so much during lockdown. I literally felt huge, and I had like 3 double chins. So I was like, oh my God, you know, but I like the fact that you could just turn up and you would be natural, and, you know, we were all you're just playing a character. But I like films that are very unassuming and everyone just gets on with the job, and, you know, they're an experiment. You know, it's always nice to be part of kind of an experiment and to be giving someone an opportunity that's never done something. It was her first directing role, so I think she really worked well with the actors, and her and Ben were a great team and a fantastic DOP, so I'm always just so excited to see what the outcome is.
And of course we all lived through lockdown, so I think there's lots in the film that we can relate to, but it's very also specifically about kind of being a creator during that time, you know, and not having an audience, not being able to make films. Did you pull from your own experience and from being in lockdown?
What creatively? I mean, I was making a film in myself, directing, so I was doing a documentary about Mary Quant, which was kind of just started prep just before, and we continued all the way through. And the whole kind of dilemma for me was like, is this film going to be finished? And you know, because a lot of the kind of investment can fall through, or guests or interviewees and people we had in the documentary in the beginning was, you know, no longer available. So it's just determination and to just keep going. And for me, you know, I entered the film into the London Film Festival and it got in, so that was an amazing thing. But you just have to be more determined, and I think it made me, you know, you just have to like really reinvent yourself and find a way, because we were all like struggling and no one knew what to do, but to find a creative output and to connect with other people and to get different projects off the ground. You know, it gave me a kind of a really good reset, but I've definitely come out of it kind of very level-headed and clear of what I want to do. I knew that I don't want to work with people that are going to, you know, your life is short and a film is like raising a small child, so you need to make really good decisions who you want around creatively. And I think, you know, I'm just about to start directing a documentary about Twiggy. Well, in fact, we've already started, so, you know, I've got a great team around me, and that's really nice to have that support.
And what do you ultimately hope people take away from watching this film? Because it does feel like we suffered a collective trauma that maybe we're all trying to move on past, and maybe we haven't sort of, you know, really faced in some ways. So do you think films like this, or kind of like using art, is a way to kind of, you know, take stock of what's happened to us?
100%. I think when people have had trauma, when people have had difficult times, that's when they, you know, more than ever need to look to be creative and to tell stories and to evolve as people and take, you know, kind of some kind of creative learning, but also emotional and inner learning. So I think, yeah, to just get some hope.
And you were just mentioning there about, you've been in the film industry a long time and now you're making your own film. So how do you see the industry has changed? And if you can give us a bit of a glimpse of what we can expect from Twiggy too.
I think the industry is, so my dog's down there, the industry is changing hugely, from being in it, like in independent film, probably when I had my first production company 25 years ago. It has, it was so easy to get, well, it wasn't easy, but there was a lot of room to make independent film. There was a lot more finance, there was a lot more opportunity, whereas now, if you don't have any links to finance and you can't self-finance, it's very difficult to get a project off the ground. There's so much there's so many projects, so much talent, but not enough money to kind of get people's projects greenlit, and that's why people are relying more on Netflix and Amazon, and I think it's so important for some filmmakers to have an in with that, with that kind of infrastructure. For me, Twiggy at the moment, we're doing it. In conjunction with the BBC, and we're kind of self-financing and have investors. I've got other projects that I want to do really low budget, so I can just do it and not have to rely on anyone. And then I have other projects that we're talking to, anyone from Amazon to Netflix. So it's all different. It is like constantly kind of rethinking it and challenging yourself and trying to get things over the line. Well, it was so nice to be part of an ensemble cast and to be working, actually during the pandemic in kind of like a very monitored environment, working with, Derek Jacobi's in it, and Francis Barber, some of my favourite actors. So, we all kind of just got on and kind of had our little storylines in a bubble, and I really admire that kind of filmmaking, that black and white kind of filmmaking, and quite gritty and edgy and improvised. I think Kirsty Bell has a really nice natural way of directing her actors. It's very kind of just not intimidating, and it just seemed like a really lovely project. My character, I play an editor, and it's a little kind of romance between someone I'm working with, but very kind of natural and gentle, but a beautiful film to watch. I think it's really important to also document how people were feeling and what was actually happening, because like any things that happen in life, we can forget about the experience very quickly. It's like you forget when you've been ill, or you forget when you've just had a baby, and even like 2 years ago what was going on, and you suddenly think, God, we're all kind of acting normal in a certain way. You can't believe that these things were happening, that people were being split up, that we were terrified, we were like fearful. I remember speaking to Kirsty early on about her kind of writing this plot, and as she was writing it, these things were happening. So I think it was just a crazy time in all of our lives. So to have something there to remind us, and it to happen so quickly, is an amazing accomplishment. I've been in the film industry since I was a child, and I've seen so many changes. I was an actor for many years, and the way I was treated as an actor, but being in front of this camera is, you're treated so differently now. And I've been producing for a good 15-20 years and directing myself, so I kind of always support female directors and producers and women that kind of claim ownership and can kind of rewrite kind of how things should be run in business and stuff, and I think Kirsty does that well, and she's very supportive herself, and I think she's done a great job. I can only speak from my point of view, but I just remember being a very kind of overly imaginative child and making up the most dramatic stories and having these crazy dreams and nightmares from thinking that I was being abducted by aliens, that someone was going to murder me too. I mean, I just had this mad, crazy mind as a child. So my mum put me into acting in the theatre because I was so dramatic. She said, well, she's going to really kind of thrive on drama. So I went to drama school at 10 years old, and I was doing theatre, and whether it be acting, it was very important for me to have somewhere where I could access my energies and all that kind of stuff. And storytelling is just, whether it's like a big blockbuster or a small little kind of repertory play or small independent film, on every level it's important to tell stories, and not just tell one story, tell all the stories. I always like telling the stories of people that don't get the opportunity to tell stories. Like, for me, I'm working on a project in South Africa and one in India, and just stories about people that have unheard voices. So it's just an ongoing thing. They've always been there and they always will.